Okay, let's see. Sorting is a way of arranging items in systematic manner. Quick sort is widely used. Sorting and the mix, n log n comparison. In average case, sorting in array elements is faster and highly efficient. Again, follows divide and conquer. So main thing is quick sort. We have divide and conquer rule, like the Britishers. Divide and conquer is a technique of breaking down the algorithm into sub problems. So in quick sort, we break the algorithm into smaller issues, smaller problems. Then looking after the smaller problems rather than looking at the big problem all at once. We look at the smaller one first and combining the result back together to solve the problem. So basically, it believes in a divide and conquer rule. It breaks the problem into small chunks. It solves each of those chunks and put the results together. In divide, first pick a pivot element. What the heck is this pivot? Central point, pin or shaft on which mechanism oscillates. Pivoting. This guy is pivot. What? Yeah, it's pivot. In a seesaw, this triangle thing is a pivot. Okay. First pick up pivot element. So I guess how in binary search we were kind of picking up the middle element and then dividing it. Similarly, we need one point where we can break things. So I guess it's picking up an element where it can start breaking it, and that's your pivot element. After that, partition or rearrange the array into two sub-arrays. So if we, of course, we will choose one point, then it's going to break it into two halves, such that each element in the left subarray is less than or equal to the pivot elements, and each element in the right subarray is larger than the pivot element. So what this is saying is, first choose a pivot element, choose a point, choose an element, break it, and then rearrange in a way that the left elements on the left are either less than or equal to the ones on the right. Conquer. Then recursively sort the two stub arrays with quick sort. Okay, so it's saying that sort each of those two sub arrays, though whatever part we had broken into two pieces, sort each of them with a quick sort. Okay. Combine the already sorted array, then combine those two. Quick sort picks an element as pivot, and then it partitions the given array around the picked pivot element. Same thing whatever we discussed. A large array is divided into two arrays in which one holds the value that are smaller than this. Same thing. Another array holds the value that are greater. Same thing, whatever we read here. After that, left and two as partitioned and use the same approach will continue until. Okay, they're saying that even the left and right subarrays are also partitioned again, and continue doing this until a single element remains in the subarray. Choosing the pivot, picking a good pivot is necessary for fast implementation of quicksort. However, it is typical to determine a good pivot. Some of the ways are: pivot can be random. Select random pivot from a given array. Pivot can either be rightmost element or of the leftmost element in the given array. Select median as pivot element. Okay. So this is an example. Let's take an example of an unsorted array. In the given array, the leftmost element as pivot. So we'll take the leftmost element as pivot. So in this case, A left equals 24 and A right equals 27. A pivot equals 24. Since pivot is at the left, so algorithm starts from the right and move towards left. It starts from here and move towards left. If A pivot less than A right, so algorithm moves forward in one position towards left. So left, so it's moving towards left. Now a left equals 24, a right equals 19, and pivot still is 24 because a pivot is greater than a right. So algorithm will swap uh, a pivot with the right. Okay, so what this is doing is first you choose the right and left, and we also choose the pivot. Then we are comparing that the two. So basically we are comparing. So yeah, we are comparing the left and the right values. Okay. So because the a pivot is greater than the a right, then swap. So basically it's swapping with this guy. So 24 went here. So what was it originally? Yeah, when we came here, so these guys got swapped. So 24 came here and 19 went there. And pivot came here. Okay. Now a left equals 19, a right equals 24, and pivot is 24. Since pivot is at the right, algorithm starts on the left. Okay, so now you're going to start comparing the left. What are you guys confusing us? So a pivot greater than a left, so algorithm moves one position to the right. Okay, again they will, I guess, compare. Okay, since a pivot is greater than the a left, so algorithm moves one position to the right. Okay, so if it's greater, then it's not going to swap. Moving on, then it reaches here, a pivot is less than the a left, so the swap will happen. Okay, so anytime a pivot is smaller, there is a swap that's happening. Perhaps we want to keep the pivot value as the highest amongst the entire list of items. That's why whenever it encounters pivot to be smaller, it's going to do the swap. So notice here in this position, why did yeah, because it probably was on the, so yeah, I think this
नहीं
condition
राइट साइड है हाँ अगर if it is in
reverse,
right they are checking the right side तो it should be
reverse
smaller
less,
and from the left if I checking from the left तो
it
वो
should be
bigger
larger.
रहना चाहिए
Correct,
larger.
correct. So now since we are on the comparison is happening over here on the left hand side, so that is why the swap happened. Moving on. Okay, so now the pivot is on the left side. Now comparison will again happen. So the pivot needs to be smaller, right? So it is not, it is smaller already. So swap doesn't happen. So this shifts over here. Again, checking. So this is not smaller. So swap will happen. So again, this whole thing is just going on and on until what? So pivot left and right pointing to the same element. Yeah, one until left and right are pointing to the same element. See this? It represents the termination of the procedure. Okay. Element 24, which is pivot elements, plays the exact position. Elements on the right side of the element are greater than it, and the elements on the left hand side of the element 24 are smaller than it. Okay. Then some other thing happens, I guess. Now, in similar manner, quick sort algorithm is separately applied to the left and right subarrays. Okay. After sorting gets done, array will be this. Fine. Enough of reading this. I guess you guys get the idea. So that's the quick sort. So splitting of an array of elements is in any ratio, not necessarily divided into half. Yeah, that's true, because there we were not divided into half. We were just choosing a pivot element, which was not really always a half. In merge sort, array is parted into just two halves. Um, Ashish, can you read this?
Yeah, sorry, Imran. You guys go ahead. I will be connected.
Okay,
Sorry.
no problem.
Yeah.
Sumaya, when you take over.
Yes. Um, in quicksort, the splitting of an array of elements is in any ratio, not necessarily divided into half. In merge sort, the array is parted into two halves, that is, n divided by 2. The worst case complexity of quicksort is O n squared, and the worst case complexity of merge sort is O of n log n.
Yeah,
Quicksort
and
works.
when we were doing the space complexity and type complexity, you remember we had this merge
Yeah.
sort algorithm, which was O n log n for the time
Mhm.
complexity.
Quicksort works well on smaller arrays. Merge sort works well on any size of array.
Okay.
Quicksort works faster than other sorting algorithms for small data sets, uh, like selection sort. So it works faster than selection sort. Merge sort has a consistent speed on any size of data.
Okay.
Quicksort additional storage space requirement is less in place. Merge sort storage requirement is more not in place. Quicksort is inefficient for larger arrays. Merge sort is more efficient. Quicksort sorting method is internal. Merge sort sorting method is external. Quicksort is not stable. Merge sort is stable. Quicksort is preferred for arrays. Merge sort is preferred for linked lists. Quicksort locality of reference is good. Merge sort locality of reference is poor.
Okay. Kritika?
Yes. Quicksort. The splitting of an array into elements is in any ratio, not necessarily divided into half. In
Yeah.
merge sort, array is divided into halves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the worst case complexity for quicksort is O n2 uh,
And square.
n square. Okay. Yeah, I thought that. And for merge sort, O n log n.
Yeah.
For quicksort, it works well on a smaller array. Merge sort operates fine on any size of an array. The speed is faster for quicksort. So sort of a small data set like selection sort, and merge sort has a consistent speed on any size of data.
Mm-hmm.
For quicksort, it is less. The additional storage space requirement is less because it happens in its place, and merge sort it is more because it does not happen in the same place.
Okay.
The quicksort efficiency, it is inefficient for larger arrays. Merge sort is more efficient. Quicksort, the sorting method is internal, and merge sort is external. The stability of quicksort, it's not stable, and merge sort is stable. Quicksort is preferred for arrays. Merge sort is preferred for linked lists. The locality of reference is good for quicksort and poor for merge sort.
Okay, go on.
Advantages of doubly linked list over singly linked list. It allows traversing in both forward and backward directions because of the next and previous pointers, unlike the singly linked list, which allows traversing in only one direction.
So if you remember, we spoke about doubly and singly linked lists. So singly linked lists are the ones where there are nodes. Each of the nodes have two elements. First is the
Data
data
and the
itself,
pointer.
and second is a pointer pointing to the next available node. However, in the doubly linked list, not only has the on the right one pointer pointing to the next element on the right, but also has on the left also. So there are three spaces actually. In the middle you have the data, On the right, you have pointed to the right node, and on the left, you have pointed to the left node. So that is why it's said that doubly linked list allows traversing in both directions, because it has the address for both nodes on either sides, right? Um, Unlike singly linked list where the traversing is only in one direction. So traversing, the word traversing means going from one point to another, whether it's a tree where you are going from one node to another, or it's a singly or doubly linked list where you're going from one node to another. So when you actually go from one point to another, it's traversing.
Yes.
Go on.
Deletion of nodes is easier compared to a singly linked list. This is because to delete a node, we need access to the node to be deleted and the node previous to it. So in a singly linked list for deletion, we require 2 pointers, while in a doubly linked list, there is no need to maintain an extra pointer, as each node itself carries the information of the previous node.
Okay, deletion node is easier compared to singly because delete a node we need to access to the node to be deleted and the node previous to it. Yeah, because then you have to point the previous. Yeah, this is so stupid. I don't like singly lists this then. Okay, for deletion we require 2 pointers, while in doubly linked list there is no need to maintain extra pointer. Like Sumaya had to prepare temp variable, store the
Yeah,
pointer address in the temp. So temp is just like your kind of head only. You have to hold the, not head, but yeah, in case if you are inserting something in the middle, you have to hold the information in the temp, so you can point back to the new node. So Maya, please share your coffee. I'm feeling sleepy. Kritika, go on.
yes. Reversing a doubly linked list is also easy. We
Hmm.
only need to swap each node's next and previous pointers and update the head node to point the last node to reverse a doubly linked list.
Reversing a doubly linked list is also easy. We only need to swap each node's next and previous pointers. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And update the head node to point to the last node to reverse the doubly linked list. Okay, so there are two things we need to do if you want to reverse the doubly linked list. First, we need to point the head to the last one, because when you reverse it, the last element becomes the first element. And next thing we do is swap the nodes. So initially, the right node was pointing to the right one, left node was pointing to the left one. So you have to swap each node's next and previous pointer also. Yeah, that's actually, then in that case, are you saying that you don't really have to reorganize the elements, like remove and add, just swapping the pointers, possibly?
Yeah.
Okay.
In doubly linked list, we can easily insert a new node before a given node.
Okay. Cool. So that concludes your all the questions from this paper. Just to boost our confidence, just take a look at this. So we're done with time complexity, space complexity, difference, algorithm, stack, operation performance stack. ये 10 नंबर तो पक्का है अगर आया तो. Algorithm to reverse a string is done, या empty करते हैं हम उसको फिर डालते हैं. Insert an element in singly, make necessary assumptions. We did this.
एल्गोरिथम टू रिवर्स स्ट्रिंग में भी स्टैक यूज करते हैं ना हम लोग.
Empty stack, और उसके बाद
हाँ हाँ,
उसमें डाल
पुश
के
एंड
वापस
पॉप.
निकाल लो.
हाँ,
हम्म.
पुश एंड पॉप करते सब. हाँ हाँ,
यस.
ओके.
ट्री अभी पढ़ चुके हैं, बाइनरी ट्री पढ़ लिया है, फिजिकल एल्गोरिथम पढ़ा है, बाइनरी सर्च पढ़ा है, एडिशन ऑफ टू मैट्रिसेस, डेप्थ फर्स्ट सर्च किया है, सर्कुलर
सब
ट्री
10
पे.
मार्क के क्वेश्चन है इसमें.
हाँ, मतलब एक नहीं आया तो
लग गए.
खत्म कहानी. हाँ, फिर वो गाना गाना मेरे तो लग गए.
सीरियसली.
एक्सप्लेन एनी ट्रेवर्सल. या ये कृतिका ने डाल दिया था, दो वाला तीसरा भी करा था इन ऑर्डर. ठीक है. असाइनमेंट में तो वैसे भी ज़्यादा है नहीं, वैसे मैंने असाइनमेंट का भी डाला हुआ है उसमें, दैट्स नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम. तो अगर टाइम मिला तो वी लुक एट द अदर स्टफ hope like maybe we'll just read through them, not like spend time. हम क्या करेंगे लास्ट वाले दिन जो हम टाइम स्पेंड करेंगे वो आई वाज थिंकिंग कि ये करने के बाद रिवाइज करने के बाद अच्छे से बस एक पढ़ लेंगे बाकी सारे टॉपिक्स और पढ़ने के बाद ऐसा उसको हाइड करके सोचेंगे कि लाइक इन कपल ऑफ सेंटेंसेस इफ वी हैड टू समराइज यू नो व्हाट दैट टॉपिक इज टॉकिंग अबाउट, तो वो एक कॉन्सेप्ट बस बिल्ड कर लेंगे दिमाग में कि हाँ ये कॉन्सेप्ट है इस टॉपिक का, तो एटलीस्ट एग्जाम में पूछा गया तो हम अपने हिसाब से बना के लिख सकते हैं, जिसने नहीं पढ़ा है फॉर एग्जांपल मी. But looks like it's almost, I mean, not everything is covered, but yeah, many of the things are covered already. Like there are a lot of algorithms which are not covered. Crystal नहीं दिया तो फिर अपनी लग जाएगी, क्योंकि और भी algorithms हैं. Anyways, now we'll move on to the other Java actually. Good idea, Sumaya, to do the Java in the night, because night we are totally dead. At least I am.
कितने बजे तक करने वाले हैं आज
जब
लोग?
तक
जान
body जवाब
रहेगी?
दे.
जब तक है
Yes.
जान, जब तक है जान, जब
Yes.
तक है जान.
जब तक जान नहीं जाएगी. यूरोप जाके ना छुट्टी सारी जो है मैंने खत्म कर डाली है, छुट्टी ले नहीं सकता अभी मैं. Okay, so need advantages. What am I doing? Database management. I'm
मैं वही
completely in
सोच रहा
sleep.
था.
तुम लोग कुछ बोल नहीं रहे हो, मैंने ओपन कर दिया ने.
मैंने सोचा तुमने मुंह कर दिया होगा कुछ शीट्स इधर उधर.
रेडी भी हो गए हैं पढ़ने के.
हाँ,
पक्का नहीं बराबर खोला है ना. नहीं तो पूरा रिवीजन खत्म हो जाएगा और बोले व्हाई डिड वी डू डेटा मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम.
मेरे साथ हुआ था ये अपना ऑर्गेनाइजेशन वाले फाइल में एंड में कुछ तो ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम के क्वेश्चंस के शीट डाले हुए हैं. और
ओके.
ये सज्जन मुझे मिला था तो मुझे बोलता है अरे तुमने सब पढ़ लिया. हाँ डेडलॉक वेडलॉक सब पढ़. डेडलॉक इसका नहीं है. वो उसने गलती से शीट्स रखा हुआ उसमें. अच्छा ऐसा है क्या? ठीक है, रिवीजन हो गया और क्या.
ठीक है, no worries. So object oriented programming in Java. So objects are the unique items, and they are basically an instance of a class which contains properties and methods. So objects. So now we talk about the classes. So class is actually a blueprint with the help of which you can create multiple objects which will have the same properties and methods. These properties are also called data. What is that? Data members and data variables. Let me just check one second. Where it go? Data fields. Yeah, member data and member functions. Yeah, it's called member data and member functions. So function is also called member functions, and the variables are also called member data. Moving on. Yeah, how is an object created? In 2 steps. First is declaration. At this point, the object reference is created, but memory is not allocated. In the second step, which is initialization, the memory is allocated. So in the first step, sorry?
The second step is instantiation.
What did I say?
Initialization.
Oh, okay, sorry. So good, thank you for correcting. So student is the name of the class, and then the variable. Variable equals new student, and this is where the allocation of the memory happens. You can combine these steps also in one, like so. Reference to the object is created, no actual object exists, and in the second step, memory is allocated. So data hiding. So data hiding means showing only the necessary information and hiding all the complexity. For example, if there is a function, don't show the body of the function to the user. All user cares about is what does that function do, and you'll just give parameters if it accepts and it's supposed to return something. Data hiding is achieved through overloading and overriding. And there are some, in case if you want to hide a particular variable in a class, you can make it private. You can make the access modifier as private, and that would mean it cannot be accessed from outside the class, even from the child classes, unless you use getters and setters. So data hiding enables developers to protect the data and hide the implementation details from outside interference. This we already discussed. Same thing. Getters and setters. So ideally, if you declare a variable as private in a class, you cannot access it from outside the class. So in order for you to access them from outside the class, like from a child class, you can use getters and setters. So get method basically gets the data of that private variable, and set method sets the data. The program is a class person which has private variable name. If you try to access it using dot name, if you try to set it or access it, you will get an error. To solve that, you create get name and set name. Set name will have a parameter, and say this dot name equals new name, and then this will return the value of that particular private variable. If you try to access it using get name, you can now, and you can also set name using the set name function. Abstract class are those classes which have a keyword called abstract. They can be extended by another class, and the class that extends it needs to implement all of its abstract methods. This class can have abstract methods, it can have a constructor, it can have final method, etc. And it is used for data abstraction. And let's move on. Cannot be instantiated. Yeah, there's one more point. You cannot instantiate it. You can extend it, but you can't instantiate it. It can have static method also. Okay, what are the advantages of abstract class? So one advantage is data abstraction. It helps us to organize the program. It's a way of organizing a program. Grouping classes together is important, keeping the program organized and understandable. Advantage of using abstract classes that you can group several related classes together or siblings. An abstract class provides you the flexibility to have certain concrete method with some abstract method, and derived classes should implement. Okay, so I want somebody to read. Ashish.
Yeah, I can. The abstract classes are a way of organizing a program.
Okay.
Grouping classes together is important in keeping a program organized and understandable. The advantage of using abstract class is that you can group several related classes together as siblings. It's just like a grouping of all the similar type of classes,
Okay.
basically. The abstract class provides you a flexibility to have certain concrete methods and some abstract methods that the derived class should implement it.
Okay. Ritika?
Abstract classes are a way of organizing a program.
Yeah.
Uh, hmm. Grouping classes together is important in keeping a program organized and understandable.
Mm-hmm.
The advantage of using an abstract class is that you can group several related classes together as siblings. Abstract classes provide you the flexibility to have certain concrete methods and some abstract methods that the derived classes should implement.
Okay, so there are way of organizing the program. You can group several classes together, have siblings. They can have concrete methods and abstract methods that they classes which extend can implement. And grouping is important to keep the program organized. So there are a way of organizing it, and to organize grouping classes is important. So they help us grouping. How can we kind of put it in that order? Grouping classes is important to keep the program organized. They are a way of organizing it. Okay, I think it should be this, then this, then this. That order. That will be better, I guess. Who was that? Who likes ice creams?
Who don't like it? That
Okay.
should be the question.
Yes, everyone likes, right?
Yeah.
So there is a place in Pune. What's that called? Yeah, this one. I don't know. Let me know how many of you have tried it.
The
I
live ice
have.
cream.
Tried it? Hmm?
I,
What?
I have tried it. I've tried it, but in Delhi, not Pune.
Yeah, it's there in Mumbai. It's there in uh, Pune. You just look at this. I mean, just look at this. You'll die eating it. I'm telling you, it's so amazing. So this jar is there. So it has, and they ask you to kind of shake it because of all the ingredients that are inside of that. So you have this brownie, which kind of melts inside. You have chocolate, and you have nuts, all these nuts, and it's really cold. It's called frozen. Okay, and they kind of seal it and send it to you. So and then you have it with the spoon, and it's just mind blowing.
How did you suddenly think of ice creams?
Because I was thinking I'm not able to focus. I only need something to distract my mind. I
Is your
wanted to
sister,
wake up.
is your sister having an ice cream?
What?
Is your
No, she's
sister
not.
having an ice cream? No.
But if I tell her if I say galti se bhi ki you
Hmm.
know what, let's have ice cream. No one on this earth can change my mind, and I'll have to order it. She'll be behind me. बोला तुम चलो ऑर्डर करो अभी. I don't know anything. तुम नहीं खाओगे कोई बात नहीं. तुम ऑर्डर हम खा लेंगे. Okay, back to Java. We're doing Java, right? Not DBMS.
Yes.
Okay. So we kind of reordered it, and we said that okay, grouping is important. That helps us organize things, and abstract classes are a way of organizing data. And the way it does is it groups the class together and their siblings, etc. Yeah, I think this sequence looks better. Grouping is important. We're talking about grouping for organizing. The very next statement is attached to that, so kind of linking to that. Abstract classes are a way of organizing a program, and how it does that is by grouping several related classes together. And they have the flexibility to have certain concrete methods and some abstract methods. So Sumya, let's read one last time, and then we'll move on to the next line.
Grouping classes together is important in keeping a program organized and understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Abstract classes are a way of organizing a program.
Okay.
The advantage of using an abstract class is that you can group several related classes together as siblings.
Oh wow, I
Abs-
love that sound.
It's not raining
So
at your place.
yeah, so there was a thunderstorm at your end, which I heard in the mic, and then followed by it was at my place. But you can't hear it because of the mic that I have. But yeah, it's amazing. The climate is getting better. So you guys have to promise me first something. And what you have to promise is that when the question about the abstract class is asked, you're not going to write about frozen bottle and rain.
Yeah, we'll try. We'll try to
You
not
try.
write it.
Okay, I guess this advantages is distracting. Let's move on to the next slide.
Yeah.
I was just looking it up on Swiggy.
Really? Maya can't wait. Yesterday, when I was talking about Europe, she's already reached Europe only in her dreams. Okay, so yeah, Ashish, let's go and read this.
Yeah. So the polymorphism and its advantages. Polymorphism is derived from the Greek word, like poly means poly and morphs. The word poly means many and morphs means forms. Polymorphism is the ability of an object to take many forms. It allows one interface to be used for general class of actions. The polymorphism principle is implemented in Java programming with methods overloading and overriding. So overloading, it allows method like overloading allows method that perform similar or closely related functions to be accessed through a common name. Overriding works together with inheritance to enable code reuse of existing classes without the need of recompilation. It tends to reduce the pairing of multiple functionality. It helps the programmer to reuse the codes, that is, classes once written, tested, and implemented can be reused as required. Reduces code so it becomes easier for the programmer to debug the code. Supports a single variable for multiple data values. The value of variable inherited from the superclass into the subclass can be changed without changing the variable's value in superclass or any or other subclasses.
Okay. So the key things to remember in polymorphism is that it's an ability of an object to take many forms. You can do it through two methods, overloading and overriding. In overloading, you're calling the same function multiple times with different signature, that is, with different parameters, different data types, and making it do more than what it actually should do. Overriding is if a method is declared in a parent class, you are redeclaring it in the child class and making it do something else. Advantages: it reduces the pairing of multiple functionalities, and there is reusability. So helps programmers to reuse the code. They can just write it once, test it, implement it, and then reuse it wherever it's required. It reduces the amount of code you have to write, and it becomes easier for the programmer to debug the code, because if they're making a change at one place, that would probably reflect at other places as well. Then supports a single variable for multiple data values. So when we were calling the same function with different, I think, variables which had different data types, values of variable inherited from the superclass into subclass can be changed without changing that variable's value. Okay, nice. In the superclass or any other subclasses. So what they're saying is that because of the overriding feature, you can not only override the methods but also override the variables. So the value of the inherited variable, you can change it without having to change it in the parent. So you can change it in the child without having to change the parent. Parent can do whatever it's supposed to do with that variable. Child doesn't have to worry about that. Child inherits it, changes the value, use it as the way it wants to. Okay, so advantages is the part we probably have to focus, because the rest all it's easy. So it's reduce pairing of multiple functionalities. That's important. Reuse the code, and easier to debug, and support single variable for multiple data values. Single variable for multiple data values. The real truth of talking about that ice cream is that I can only talk about it because I'm dieting right now. I can't have it. Okay. So types of polymorphism. There are two types of polymorphism: static and dynamic. Static is the linking of the function. What was that? Linking of function with an object. Linking of a function with an object during compile time. It is achieved through overloading. Overloading methods use the same name but different parameters. Dynamic polymorphism. In this, the JVM does what? Does anyone remember? JVM does something at runtime.
Method of overriding.
Yeah. JVM performs the process at runtime. And in this, compiler doesn't determine the method to be executed. So compiler doesn't care what method is going to be executed. It's the JVM that performs the process at runtime. Now see, is achieved through overriding. Okay, coming back. So static polymorphism is linking of a function with an object at compile time, and dynamic polymorphism, uh, the compiler doesn't decide about the execution of the function. It's the JVM which runs the process at runtime. Okay, I want somebody else to read. Kritika?
Yes. Static polymorphism is the linking of a function with an object during compile time. It is achieved through the method overloading. In
Yeah.
overloading, methods use the same name but with different parameters.
Okay.
Dynamic polymorphism. In this, the compiler does not determine the method to be executed. Java Virtual Machine (JVM) performs the process at the runtime, and it is achieved through the method overriding.
Okay. So Maya?
Static polymorphism is the linking of a function with an object during compile time. It is achieved through the method overloading. In overloading, methods use the same name but with different parameters. Dynamic polymorphism. In this, the compiler doesn't determine the method to be executed. Java Virtual Machine performs the process at runtime. It is achieved through method overriding.
Ashish?
Yeah. So static polymorphism is a linking of a function with an object during compile time. It is achieved through the method overloading. In overloading, method uses the same name but with a different parameters. Dynamic polymorphism. In this, compiler doesn't determine the method to be executed. Java Virtual Machine, that's JVM, performs the process at the runtime.
Okay.
It is
So
achieved
static
through
polymorphism.
method overriding.
Correct. Static polymorphism is a linking of a function with an object at compile time, and dynamic polymorphism, the compiler does not decide the process to be executed, the function to be executed. It is the JVM that runs the process at runtime. Okay, this is just example of the overloading, where you can see the same function name each time, same different parameters with different data types, and it's getting called with different parameter values. Okay, use of super keyword in case if the parent and the child has the method with the same name, so that the compiler doesn't get confused which method to call. Is it the parent method or the child method? We use super. If you prefix super dot with the method name, compiler will understand that it's supposed to call the parent's method, not the child one. Okay. Use of static method in Java. So a method which has static keyword is called a static method, and you can access a static method from outside the class into another class without having to instantiate that particular class. Static methods have access to the class variables without using the class object. That's the third point. Static method have access to the class variables, the static variables, without using a class object. Okay, move on. Explain why main method in Java is always static. Sumaya, can you explain this?
Yes. So an object is, or the class is not instantiated at the time of executing the program. So that's why the main method needs to be static, so that it can be called without instantiating an object of the class.
Right.
If it's not
So-
declared as static, it will show an error like this.
Correct. So if you instantiate a class, its main method is called. But at the time of main method being called, the class is not instantiated yet. So we know that if we declare a method as static, we just established that, then we can call it without instantiation of the class. So that is why we declared it as static. Okay, moving on. Write a program in Java that takes 3 numbers as input and display the largest among these. So max numbers, we use a scanner class to take an input, system.in, max equals integer.min value. We loop through 3 times because we need 3 numbers. Ask the user to enter the number. Then we use scanner.nextInt to get the value from the keyboard and hold it inside of input. If input is greater than max, then the value will be input. Otherwise, the value will remain as max. System out, print, we print the max value, and we close the scanner. Okay, we are at 59 slide. Good. Data types in Java, there are 2 types of data types. One is the primitive data types, and second is the user-defined data types. Primitive data types will include, so guys, listen and tell me if I missed on to anything. So byte, short, int, long, float, double, boolean. Did I miss anything?
There is one more, I think. You said 7.
Yeah, I
There
said
eight.
7. Which is the 8th one? One, two, three. Oh, cat. Last time also I forgot about it. Ritika, how do I remember cat? I forgot last time also.
Think of a car. I don't know. I'll add a car ka photo over here.
Yeah, I'm thinking of taking an SUV. Yeah, so I'll think on that.
So
Cool.
storing primitive data types in your SUV.
What? Data types? No, not at all. By the time my exams will be over, I don't want to think about it. Cool. Okay, so Boolean has 1 bit. Char has 4. So may I correct me where I'm going wrong? So byte has 1 byte.
Char has two bytes.
Oh, char has 2. Okay, cool. Short has 4.
Short
Okay.
has 2.
2. So
bytes.
char and short have 2. Yeah. Okay. Int has 4. Long has 8. Float has 4, and double has 8. Right. So these guys were 2 2. Boolean was 1 bit. This was 1 byte. Non-preparative data types, you have arrays, interfaces, and classes. So Boolean 1 bit, default value false, char \u 4 times 0, 2 byte, byte is 1 byte, short is 2 byte, int is, so for 2 byte, I just have to remember char and short. Okay. int is 4, long is 8, float is 4, double is 8. I don't get confused in int and float and long and double because it's easy. And for long, float, and double, you have to put L, F, and D after 0. Non-primitive, you have classes, which is a blueprint. We already discussed that. Interface is a blueprint of a class that has static constants and abstract methods used to achieve abstraction, and you can also do multiple inheritance. Helps us achieve loose coupling, which is classes are independent of each other. The only knowledge one class has about the other is what the other class is exposed through its interface. Arrays is an object which contains elements of similar data type. We can store a fixed size of an elements in an array unless you use dynamic arrays. The way to declare is you say int, the variable name, square brackets equals new int, square brackets, size of the array, and then you can set the values, loop through, and just print it. Non-primitive, single dimensional array, list of variables, similar data types, accesses value using index, int, my num equals whatever the value is. This is string type array. This is int type array. Multi-dimensional, where there are more than one indexes. Going on. Okay. Right. So we have to basically put a program, create a program using scanner class. We already had the example in the previous one. I don't see any reason to go over it again. We just took an example of a scanner class. So let's move on. Okay, exception. Exceptions are unwanted events that occur during the normal flow of the program. And once the exception occurs, an object is created. This object contains the information about the errors. For example, the name of the error, the type of the error, etc. And if you don't handle the exception, then the program is going to crash. It's not going to move ahead. But if you handle the exception, the next set of code, next line of code will be executed. You can handle exception using the try and catch method, and you can also use finally, which will always be executed irrespective of whether or not the set of code that you've written goes through successfully. Causes could be different, like for example, you're trying to access a file that doesn't exist. You're trying to you've written an incorrect code, like there's a code fault, runtime error, or disk out of space, memory issues, network failed. What else? Can you think of anything else, guys? Okay. Okay. Ashish, can you read this?
Yeah. So the exception is an unwanted or unexpected event which occurs during the execution of program, that is at runtime, that disrupts the normal flow of the program's instructions. When an exception occurs within a method, it creates an object. This object is called an exception object. It contains the information about the exception, such as the name, the description of exception, and the state of the program when the exception occurred. The causes of exception is like invalid user input, device failure, loss of network connection, physical limitations like out of disk memory, code errors, opening an unavailable file.
So invalid user input, this I missed. Device failure, I think I covered. Loss of network covered. Out of disk memory I covered. Code errors I covered. This also I covered. I think I missed user input. Invalid user input. And of course, JVM runs out of memory. Okay. So why proper exception is handling is necessary? Let's try to recall. So one of the things was it gives us the errors up the stack, call stack, and it gives us the information about the documentation. So Maya, do you remember any of these answers?
It separates the error handling code from the main logic of the program.
It separates the error handling code from the main logic of the program. And because of so grouping and classification, which we spoke about, was it the part of this answer? So where we spoke about that, or was it different?
Yes, there was grouping and classification of the exception types is a natural outcome of the class hierarchy in Java.
Right. So what is part of the same answer, or was it different?
This same answer, I think.
Okay. So by default, an exception is an object, and because of the classification or grouping, it's a natural outcome of the class hierarchy, something like that it was. So it separates the error handling code from the regular code. Exception provides a means to separate the details of what to do when something out of ordinary happens from the main programmer logic. Okay. Propagating errors up the call stack. Exceptions have the ability to propagate errors reporting up the call stack. Grouping and differentiating error types. Because all exceptions thrown within a program are objects, grouping or categorizing of exception is a natural outcome of class hierarchy. I'm telling you, I read that as natural ice cream. So an example of a group of related exception class are defined in java.io, IO exception and its descendants. Okay, Kritika, let's read this.
Why proper exception handling is necessary. Separating error handling code from regular code.
Okay.
Exceptions provide the means to separate the details of what to do when something out of the ordinary happens from the main program logic.
Okay, so Kritika, like read it in a way that you'll be able to recall it once we hide this.
Okay, so it basically separates the error handling code from the regular code. So if something goes wrong, in the codes are separated. Yes.
Yeah.
Second is propagating errors up the call stack. Exceptions have the ability to propagate error reporting up the call stack of methods. Okay. Grouping and differentiating error types. Because all exceptions thrown within the program are objects, the grouping categorization of exceptions is a natural outcome of the class hierarchy. An example of a group-related exception classes are defined in java.io, IO exception and its descendants.
Okay, so
So
let's see how much you can recall out of this.
I have to recall?
Yeah. Just
Okay.
recall whatever you can, it's fine.
The first one is it separates the regular code from the
Yeah.
error handling code. So if something goes wrong, the codes are separated. Uh,
Yes.
the second one is um,
Up the stack something.
yes, up the stack. In,
Yeah.
it
Error.
groups. Yes.
Yeah, that's the third one. So up the call stack means like it reports errors up the call stack. And the last one you're talking about the grouping, go on.
Yes, it groups the exceptions,
Mm-hmm.
the IO exception and its descendants.
Okay, so the point over here says that every exception is an object in Java. Okay, that's we in the previous slide. Remember, we were discussing that when an exception occurs, then it creates an object. That object has an information about the name of the exception, type of the exception, So that's what it's talking about here. It's saying that every exception is an object, and because so that is why the grouping or classification of exception is a natural outcome of the class hierarchy. Okay, so grouping is easier because it's an object, and it's hierarchical. And then you give some examples, I guess. Because all exceptions thrown within a program are objects, the grouping or categorizing exception is natural outcome of the class hierarchy. An example of a group of related exception are Java, defined in java.io. For example, IO exception and its descendants. Write a program to demonstrate the use of the catch clause in exception handling. So you have try and catch method. Here we are declaring a variable a, new int 5, trying to assign a5 to 30 by 0. So there are two problems here. First is that you're trying to assign a value uh, to an index that doesn't exist, because size 5 means there will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, only up to 4 index, and you are saying assign the value to 5. 5 doesn't exist. It's a fixed size array, so you will get arithmetic exception for that. Okay, the different types of exceptions. Then let's say now you put 4, so you won't get arithmetic exception, but now you will get something else because you're trying to divide 30 by 0. So for that you're going to get array index out of bound exception. Okay, and if you take care of this also, you put the proper value, you put 3 or 4, whatever, then it's going to go, or you make some other error. If you want to keep it generic, not specific, like arithmetic exception or index array or bound exception, then in that case you can just use exception as a class. And then finally, if nothing happens, like everything goes smooth, then it just, of course, then none of these will be executed. And of course, irrespective of whether it fails or passes, the last line will be printed. Okay, we don't need to go through this. We already saw one example. Okay, we are on the 101 slide, guys, just in half an hour. We'll finish at 11 o'clock. So what is the package? Package is a collection of classes, sub packages, and interfaces. It's just like of, a directory in of files in a folder. And what else? There are two types of packages. One is inbuilt. Second is the user-defined packages. Inbuilts will be like java.io, java.lang, java.util. So, yeah, can you think of any others?
I don't know.
Okay. Then user-defined. So user-defined means you define the package. So what you do is to create a package. You basically create a directory. You name that directory, and you put all the classes files, which are related files, similar files, inside of that, and that is your package now. And inside of your class file, at the top of the file, you put package keyword and the space, the package name, and then you define the class. So that class then becomes a part of that package. One important thing which I forgot is they're used to avoid name conflicts, where better maintainable code, write better maintainable code. Kritika, how do I remember these 2 points? I keep forgetting. So avoiding name conflicts and writing better codes. So when I talk about packages.
The packages are used for, so there are a lot of user-defined packages. So I
Yeah.
was watching one of the videos in which he named the package as his name. So I thought I would name it as like Kritika's Sony package dot Java or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I think so, and then like when I create that package, anybody can
Mm-hmm.
access it. Like if you write the same thing, it'll come up. So I
Okay.
mean, that's why it says name conflicts.
Okay. and write better maintainable code. Okay. Accessibility rule. I'd like Sumaya to take me through this. Sumaya, let's recap this.
Yeah. So we have uh, 4 access modifiers: private, protected, public, and default.
Okay.
If a member is declared as private, then it can be accessed only within the class. If it's
Okay.
declared as protected, then it can be accessed within the package, and it can be accessed in subclasses outside the package.
Yep.
If it's declared as public, it can be accessed from anywhere inside or outside the package.
Perfect.
And if it's default, then
Hmm.
it can be accessed from within the package only.
Yep. Within the package or subclasses within the package.
Yeah.
Awesome. And it's applied on the variables and methods, classes, methods, and variables. Well, moving on. Types of package we already did. So let's remember. So there was swing, util. So util we covered. Util we covered. Lang. IO I covered. Okay. Net, AWT, JavaX, and swing. Okay. Cool. This is creating a package. Java welcome.java to generate the output from the above program. Java
The
hyphen.
first
Sorry.
command gives the first command javac welcome.java gives the welcome.class files. They've written the explanations below the command, so it's a little confusing.
I keep getting confused, Sumaya. Can you please correct this? Like, write it in your file with the comment and just put it here. I keep getting
Okay.
confused.
Yeah, they've just written the explanation below the command, not
Yeah,
before it.
it's so confusing. Please write it your code file with comment and replace the right image. But for now, we'll just take a look at it based on what you said. So the above command will give us the welcome.class file, welcome.java, Java. Then java -d welcome.java is going to create a new folder called first package. But how will this create a folder called first package? That is coming here.
I think because we put the name of the package in the class, this package, first package. So when
Oh,
you
okay,
run that, it creates the folder.
got it. Okay, then above command will give the final output. So welcome.java, give us welcome.class file. Just keep it short, like remove this above command will give, this will do. Just put just the key things, keywords, whatever is necessary. So extra
Okay.
thing is just confusing. Okay, so this will create a new folder. Um this will call first package. This will give us the output, whatever you're doing here. Okay, interface a blueprint of the classes that allow us to basically reuse. They offer reusability. They offer multiple inheritance. They have static constants and abstract methods. They lack instance variables, and their methods are declared without any body. Okay, advantages used to achieve total abstraction, multiple inheritance, loose coupling, makes unit testing easier. Hey, did I assign this to you and you mentioned you couldn't find anything? Was this the one? No. Okay.
No.
Okay. My Mac, I think, is giving me trouble. There's some issue with the speaker. Okay. Who is feeling sleepy? Tell me. That person can read. Everybody is
Not
awake.
feeling sleepy,
Wow.
but still I can read.
Okay, go on.
So it is used to achieve total abstraction. Advantages of the interfaces. Sorry. It is
Mhm.
used to achieve the total abstraction. Since Java does not support multiple inheritances, we can achieve multiple inheritance using an interfaces.
Okay. Yes. उसको क्या नाम है उसका यार? सज्जन सज्जन को बुलाओ ना यार, वो पढ़ता है तो याद रहता है एग्जाम में, इस तरह से पढ़ता है वो, पता है, दिमाग में बैठ जाता है वो। एकदम मस्त चिल्ला चिल्ला के पढ़ता है कि वो दिमाग में घुस जाता है वो।
बोलता
नींद
हूँ
में
मैं
भी
उसको देखो,
उठ जाएगा।
कल
हाँ,
कल बोलता हूँ उसको मैं ज्वाइन करने के लिए।
उसको बोलो ज्वाइन करने के लिए, बोलो
वो
खाली रीडिंग
सदमे
जो है वो
में,
गलत है।
आपको पता नहीं है, वो सदमे में उसने जो कंप्यूटर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का पेपर देख लिया ना, उसके बाद वो सदमे में चलेगा। और ऊपर से वो मेरे पीछे बैठा था और सर ने पता नहीं उसको यहाँ वहाँ झांकते हुए देख लिया, फर्स्ट बेंच पे बिठा दिया। तो
उसको
और
बोलो
सदमे में चलेगा वो।
कि बाकी पेपर भी सदमे में हो जाएगा, इसलिए बाकी पेपर कर लो, एक फिर दे देना बाद में, हो सकता है पास भी हो जाए, नेवर नो। ओके,
ठीक
गो
है,
ऑन।
मैं बात करता हूँ या। So it is also used to achieve the loose coupling, makes unit testing easier.
ओके, सो अभी ये 2 पॉइंट है आशीष, जो कि घड़ी-घड़ी भूल जाता है, तो मेक अस रिमेंबर दीस 2 पॉइंट्स समहाउ।
Achieve the loose coupling and makes unit testing easier. सो आई
हाँ,
गेस इंटरफेसेस में जो भी क्लासेस होता है वो रीयूज हो सकते हैं, इसीलिए इंटरफेस इम्प्लीमेंट करते हैं। तो यूनिट टेस्टिंग
ओके।
को भी शायद वो हिसाब से हम लोग कर सकते हैं याद, कि यूनिट टेस्टिंग कैन बी डन वेरी
या
इजीली
आई
इन।
थिंक यूनिट टेस्टिंग में क्या है कि अभी उसने इंटरफ़ेस बना दिया और
हम्म
क्लासेस बाद में उसको एक्सटेंड करेंगे,
हम्म
ठीक है? तो उसके पास एक तरह का ब्लूप्रिंट तो है ही है,
हम्म।
और उसको पता है कि ये जो-जो इंटरफ़ेस में मेथड्स हैं उसके यूनिट टेस्ट उसको लिखने ही हैं। It is making it
यस।
easier. Okay, tough nut to crack this one. Okay, so may I go ahead and read this?
Abstract class can have abstract and non-abstract methods. Interface can have only abstract methods, since Java 8 it can also have default and static methods. Abstract class doesn't support multiple inheritance. Interface supports multiple inheritance. Abstract class
Okay,
can have final, non-final, static, and non-static variables. Interface has only static and final variables. Abstract class can provide the implementation of interface. Interface can't provide the implementation of abstract class. The
yeah,
abstract keyword is used to declare abstract class. The interface keyword is used to declare interface. An abstract class can extend another Java class and implement multiple Java interfaces. An interface can extend another Java interface only. An abstract class can be extended using keyword extends. An interface can be implemented using keyword implements. A Java abstract class can have class members like private, protected, etc. Members of a Java interface are public by default. As an
okay,
example,
let's at least that. So let's try to recall. So abstract classes are those classes which have abstract keyword. Interface are those which have interface keyword. And then abstract classes can be extended uh, using the extend keyword, and interfaces can be implemented using the implement keyword. Uh, interfaces can be extended by the abstract classes. Sorry, abstract class. What was that point? Interfaces cannot be extended, or it can only be implemented, something like that.
abstract class can implement an interface, and
Hmm.
interface can't implement an abstract class.
Okay. Okay. So that's there, and then abstract classes have the final, non-final, static, and non-static variables. and interfaces have static variables. And what are the variables? There was one more.
Final.
Final, starting and final. Okay, okay. What else was there? Okay, do you remember any other points?
Public and private interface
Mm-hmm.
is public by default.
Yeah, so classes in abstract are public and private, and interfaces. Uh, what was the point about interfaces and about default?
Members of an interface are public by default.
Okay, member मतलब methods जो इनके. Okay, right. So abstract class can have abstract and non-abstract methods, and interfaces can have only abstract, default, and static methods. This doesn't support. Yeah, I forgot this one important one. Doesn't support multiple inheritance. It supports multiple inheritance. Final, non-final, static, non-static variables. There's only a static and final. ये point तो पक्का याद रहेगा. Can provide implementation of interface. It can't provide implementation of abstract class. You just have to reverse it. Like this can implement that, but that can't implement this. Okay, keyword, we did that. Extend, word extend, we did that, and this implements. Abstract class can extend Java class and implement multiple Java interfaces. Interface can only extend a Java interface. So this can extend and implement. So you can extend is another class and implement Java interface, but this can only extend. It can't implement another interface. Okay. And they have class members like private and protected, and members of Java interface are public by default. Awesome. We've got a few minutes left. Let's move on. Perhaps, so we were at 110. Perhaps we can start from reverse, because otherwise those slides are usually skipped. Oh man, how am I going to remember this? I had a program to explain JDBC. ये haunt करेगा आशीष अपने को JDBC.
Yeah, actually.
Import java.sql star class fetch records. Public static void main. हम क्या करेंगे ना, वो वाला skip कर देंगे जिसमें ये question है. I hope we can. So class.forName oracle.jdbc.driver.oracle_driver. We create a connection called driver manager.get connection, and then JDBC Oracle thin localhost whatever. Set auto commit false. Then under statement we use create statement, con.create statement, add batch. So kind of batching multiple queries. Insert whatever query. You can just put any query over here. Insert into whatever this is, and then execute this query. Commit it and close it. Oh, this is important. My God. Instead of executing a single query, we can execute batch or group of queries. So Ashish, you can at least write the theory in case if you're not able to skip this question. So JDBC batch processing means अगर सिंगल क्वेरी, मान लो बहुत सारी क्वेरीज हैं, तो घड़ी घड़ी एक एक करके एग्जीक्यूट करोगे तो टाइम लगेगा ना. तो हम क्या करते हैं, बैच प्रोसेसिंग में हम क्वेरीज को बैच कर देते हैं, एक साथ ग्रुप करके एक साथ करते हैं. इट्स लाइक अभी मम्मी ने कुछ सामान लाने को बोला, जैसे धनिया लेके आओ, मिर्चा लेके आओ, तुम घड़ी घड़ी जा रहे हो, फिर तुम पक जाओगे, बोलेगे अरे अभी तो गया था, फिर से बोल रहे हो कि अभी मिर्चा लेके आओ. एक बार गया तो एक बार नहीं मंगा सकते. तो वैसे ही मम्मी को बोलो सब कुछ एक साथ बोल दो, लिख के दे दो क्या करना है, एक बार जाऊंगा लेके आऊंगा. दैट्स व्हाट बैच प्रोसेसिंग इज. सो यू हैव टू गेट एवरीथिंग together. So batch all the queries and execute it at once rather than doing it one by one. That makes the performance fast, because तुमको जाने आने में टाइम तो सेम ही लग रहा है, राइट? लेकिन अगर तुम बार बार जाओगे तो मल्टीप्लाई दैट टाइम, लाइक एट दोस टाइम. 10 बार गए तो 10 मिनट लगा 10 सामान लाने को, एक बार गए तो वो 10 सामान लाने को सिर्फ 1 ही मिनट लगा. सो दैट्स बेटर. It is because when we अब लिख लोगे batch processing JDBC.
हाँ
Good. It is because one sends multiple statements of SQL at once to the database. The communication overhead is reduced significantly as one is not communicating with the database frequently, which in turn results to fast performance. Java.sql.statement and Java.sql.prepared statement interfaces provide methods for batch processing. So methods are add batch is used to single statements to a batch. Execute batch begins the execution of all the group together statements. Then moving on. So JDBC driver manager class and its use. It's a concrete class that provides an interface between the user and the drivers. JDBC driver can create database connection, but generally driver managers use to get the connection. So the driver creates the database connection, and driver manager gets the connection. And this driver manager provides an interface between the user and the drivers. Driver manager provides elementary services to maintain JDBC drivers and defines an object that connects the application to the driver. Manages the various drivers running on an application. It tracks the available drivers and appropriately chooses the one which connects the application with the database. So it manages various drivers, tracks available drivers. .get connection method of driver manager is most commonly used method of this class to establish database connection. So it gets the connection, it establishes the connection, manages drivers, tracks the drivers. The class.forName method is used to load the driver. Class.forName com.mysql.cj.jdbc.driver. Okay, so just to recap, provides interface between user and drivers, used to get the connection like so, and manages various drivers, tracks the drivers. Okay. This is an example of this class. The register driver method of the driver manager class registers the given driver in the driver manager's list. If the driver is null, it returns the null pointer exception. Public driver manager examples: static void main, driver equals new com.mysql.jdbc.driver, driver manager.register driver system.out.print, driver registered successfully. Okay, so it's 11 now. We'll stop here. Perhaps we will start from the backwards tomorrow, and then we'll make our way upwards. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Then thanks, guys, and good night. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.
Bye.